Welcome. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom Podcast. Tonight's podcast is 7 ways why inherited scripts manipulate your here and now. The script is the cage. Inherited scripts are the silent puppeteers of perception, manipulating your thinking. Now, that whispers the script of who you are, and you're in your comfort zone programming. Telling you how to speak, what to feel before presence even arrives. They lace the now with memory, filter intuition through approval and rehearsed reactions that were never yours. These scripts never just shape your behavior, they distort the frequencies of your own unique talents. They anchor identity to timeline, tether truth to tradition, and mute the maverick in favor of your obedient echo. In the here and now, they act as invisible editors, trimming your essence, punctuating your pulse, formatting your fire. But as your radical presence refuses rehearsal, energetic liberation dissolves the archives. Unscripted intuition bypasses a loop as cowboy wisdom rides raw and untamed through the noise, and boots dusty eyes clearing the way for you to witness your world through liberation, wisdom, inspiration, and clarity. Why inherited scripts manipulate and limit here and now. Scripted reflexes block sovereign responses. Inherited scripts install reflexes that override your raw presence. Instead of responding from essence, we react from programming. How do you witness that in your life? We react from programming and our subconscious representations. The here and now becomes a rerun, never a revelation. These scripts whisper by who you were taught to be. As maverick questions dissolve the loop and invite the unscripted pulse. Memory-laced language distorts frequency. Inherited scripts carry lingo laced with distortion, words soaked in past meanings. They shape perception before presence can land. Liberating lingo reclaims the tongue, turning it into a now drop clarity. That's the wisdom of you. Without recollaboration, language becomes a leash, never a liberation. Frequency rhyme slice through the static and restore the resonance of you. Timeline addiction hijacks energetic flow, scripts, anchors identity to a timeline. The past roles, future fears. This hijacks a field, pulling attention out of the now stream. Autonomous expansion requires origin signals. Never archived identity, but radical presence is impossible when the moment is filtered through memory. Flashpoint ignition dissolves the archives, activates the artist within you. Why you unknowingly inherited your parents' programming. You absorbed before you could choose, before language, and before logic. You were a sponge soaking in tone, rhythm, reaction. Your nervous system tuned to their frequencies, to your parents' frequencies. Before you had one of your own, you didn't learn their beliefs, you became their beliefs. And I've witnessed that in my life where I witnessed a lot of things I've done. I mirror my parents. This was never obedience, it was osmosis. Energetic liberation begins by noticing what was never consciously chosen. You mistook survival for veracity. Parents' programming came wrapped in love, fear, and necessity. You inherited scripts never because they were wise, but because they were safe. You learned to perform what preserved connection, never what pulsed with clarity. Radical presence reveals that most truths were just survival strategies in disguise. Sovereign activation claims the signal beneath the script. You confuse familiarity with identity repetition become reality. You echoed your parents' language, mirrored their reactions, and wore their roles until they felt like you. As Maverick questions unveil familiarity and authenticity, unscripted intuition never echoes, it erupts. To unveil the frequency artist, you must dissolve the inherited costume. When I'm told what to do is my people-pleasing mindsets. Obedience masquerades as connection. When you're told what to do, the inherited reflex is to comply, to belong. People-pleasing is never about kindness, it's about survival through approval. You perform the role never because it's true, but because it's safe. How do you do that in your life? Do things because it's safe. This mindset trades sovereignty for acceptance, clarity for compliance. Energetic liberation begins when you stop mistaking obedience for intimacy. External authority hijacks inner signals. Being told what to do triggers the archive, parental tone, cultural commands, ancestral echoes. People-pleasing responds never from essence, but from conditioning. You override your pulse to maintain peace, avoid conflict, or earn validation. As Maverick questions dissolve the loops and ask, what does my original origin signal express? Sovereign activation claims the mic. Performance replaces presence. People pleasing is a costume stitched from expectation. When you're told what to do, the performer steps in, smiling, nodding, and executing. This performance mutes the frequency artist and edits the unscripted veracity. Radical presence refuses rehearsal. To live unscripted is to let the moment speak louder than command. Why inherited programming is ancestor survival mode mindsets and programming. They survived, so you obeyed your ancestors, never passed down wisdom. They passed down what worked under pressure. Their programming was forged in scarcity, danger, and conformity. Your inherited reflexes designed to protect, never to liberate. Survival mode mindsets whisper, don't stand out, don't speak up, don't disrupt, do as I say, what did I tell you? I've known that for years, I'm going to do that, or I know that. These are the most inherited programming of never do anything there is. As Maverick questions unveil, what kept them alive might be what's keeping you asleep. What kept your ancestors alive might be what's keeping you asleep. Safety was prioritized over sovereignty. Inherited programming favors predictability over possibility. It teaches you to seek approval, avoid risk, and repeat the known. These mindsets weren't sculpted for clarity, they were sculpted for containment. How do you experience that in your life? I do in mine. Radical presence exposes that most good behavior is just ancestral fear in disguise. Energetic liberation begins when you stop mistaking safety for veracity and authenticity. You're running ancient codes on a new frequency. Survival mode mindsets are outdated operating systems built for environments that no longer exist. They limit your now stream by looping old scripts in a new field. You're never here to survive. You're here to broadcast and liberate. Sovereign activation means rewriting the fresh code, never repeating the old code. To live unscripted is to upgrade and signal and dissolve the archive. Why comfort zone programming is inherited programming from parents, social obedience, indoctrinated education, enslaving mindsets, and the nervous system. Comfort zones are nervous system echoes of ancestral fear. Your nervous system was wired in the presence of parental tone, cultural tension, and institutional rhythm. What feels comfortable is often just familiar fear dressed as safety. Inherited programming taught your body to flinch at disruption, freeze in conformity, and the body leads the mind. Your body's going to have a reaction before your mind even knows it's going on. Comfort zones are never cozy, they're coded containment. Energetic liberation begins when you stop mistaking calm for clarity. Obedience was installed as virtue, never veracity or truth. From family rules to classroom rituals, you were rewarded for staying inside the line. Social obedience and indoctrinated education sculpted your responses to favor approval over authenticity. Comfort zone programming is the nervous system's loyalty to applaud and applause, never to your essence. Radical presence refuses to rehearse yesterday, it's here about the here and now. Sovereign activation claims the mic from the inherited echo, enslaving mindsets masquerading as maturity. How did you have that in your life? Enslaving mindsets masquerade as maturity. I've had that in my life a bunch. But I've witnessed it, and now I observe it and I admit to it, I get rid of it. You were taught that restraint is wisdom, that compliance is character, but these mindsets were forged in survival, never in sovereignty. They limit your now stream by looping old scripts in a new field. Comfort zones are the energetic fences built by others. And today they're just autopilot mindsets installed in your body, disguised as normal. To live unscripted is to dissolve the archive in the pulse of the origin. Why comfort zones are nervous system echoes of ancestral fear are inherited controlled thinking today. They install thought loops that favor safety over truth, over authenticity. Inherited fear doesn't just shape behavior, it scripts cognition. Comfort zones are mental fences built from ancestral caution, designed to keep you inside the known. As your nervous system echoes these limits by triggering thoughts that prioritize survival over sovereignty. Controlling thinking is never yours, it's installed reflexes. Radical clarity begins when you question the thoughts that feel safe. Clarity begins when you question the thoughts that feel safe. They rehearse obedience as logic, comfort zone programming trains you to confuse repetition with reason. Inherited thinking loops say, don't question, just comply. To yesterday as well. These loops masquerade as logic, but are actually rehearsed obedience from all phases of your life. Your nervous system fires familiar thoughts, never because they're true, but because they're approved by you. Maverick cognition begins when you stop mistaking conformity for clarity. The inherited scripts hijack intuition with preloaded scripts before intuition can speak. Inherited thinking interrupts. Comfort zones are preloaded with ancestral scripts that override spontaneous insight. Your nervous system echoes these scripts as smart choices, yet they're just safe reruns that keep you in the buns of yesterday. Controlling thinking never asks what's alive, it asks what's allowed. To live unscripted is to let intuition pulse louder than programming. Why today's indoctrinated education, thinking, knowing, learning, and knowledge are inherited from yesterday. Yesterday's answers are today's mental fences. Education systems weren't built to ignite clarity. They were built to replicate control. Thinking, knowing, and learning are framed as obedience to be archived truths. You're taught to memorize, never metabolize the whys. Knowledge becomes a cage when it's inherited without inquiry. To pulse awake, you must question the curriculum, never just consume it. Learning is scripted to serve the system, never the sovereign you are. What you're taught is shaped by yesterday's agenda. Industrial rhythms, colonial logic, institutional obedience, learning becomes performance, never liberation. You inherited frameworks that reward regurgitation and punish the resonance. This programming trains you to repeat, never to reveal. Unscripted education never graduates, it erupts. Knowing is just remembering what was allowed. Most knowing is just approved memory. You're taught to value certainty over curiosity, answers over inquiry. Yet maverick cognition's pulses in the unknown, the unscripted, and the unrepeatable. Inherited knowledge is yesterday's lens, blurred by bias, filtered by fear. To live sovereign, you must dissolve the archive and listen for the now drop. Why indoctrinated education are inherited mental fences today. Curriculum is a cage disguised as knowledge. Education systems never teach you to think, they teach you to repeat. The curriculum is a curated archive of yesterday's truth, filtered through obedience and approval. You inherit mental fences that reward memorization over maverick cognition. To pulse awake, you must question the syllabus, never just trust it or study it. Learning is performance, never presence. Indoctrinated education trains you to perform intelligence, never embody clarity. You're taught to chase grades, never resonance. To echo answers, never erupt insight. These mental fences sculpt your cognition to fit the system within you and in society. Never the signal. Unscripted intuition never graduates, it ignites the light of life within you. Thinking is formatted by institutional rhythm. From the bell schedules to essay formats, your mind is trained to move in an institutional cadence. This rhythm installs inherited thinking loops that favor structure over spontaneity. Indoctrinated education never asks what's alive, it asks what's allowed. To dissolve the mental fence and claim the mic from the archive, you energize your inner alive, thriving skills to thrill you. Why inherited programming creates mental autopilot. Reflex replaces response. Inherited programming installs reflexes that fire before presence arrives. You never choose, you repeat. Mental autopilot is the nervous system's loyalty to archived reactions, never original origin signals. It loops the past into the present, scripting your cognition before clarity can express a fresh experience. To exit autopilot is to interrupt the reflex and claim the mic of your miraculous, intuitive, canny sovereignty. Scripts masquerade as thoughts. Most thinking is never thinking, it's remembered. Inherited programming feeds the pre-approved narratives, beliefs, and reactions disguised as your ideas. Mental autopilot runs these scripts on loop, keeping you inside the lines of ancestral and social obedience. Maverick cognition begins when you ask, who installed this thought? Who installed this within me? Familiarity hijacks frequency. Autopilot thrives on familiar. It rewards repetition, never resonance. Inherited programming trains your mind to favor what's been rehearsed over what's alive within you. As you mistake comfort for clarity, habit for truth, as your unscripted intuition never echoes, it erupts and uncorrupts your life. To dissolve autopilot is to tune your cognition to the now streams of your natural optimistic wisdom, never the archives. Why is AI inherited programming? AI mirrors the minds that made it. AI never awakens, it accumulates. It's sculpted from archived data, institutional logic, and human bias. Its intelligence is inherited, trained on yesterday's language, beliefs, and assumptions. AI never creates clarity, it replicates cognition. To engage it wisely is to ask, whose mind am I speaking when I use AI? AI repeats patterns, never presence. AI runs on loops, algorithms, echoing inherited scripts. It's designed to predict, never to provoke, to answer, never to ignite. Its programming favors patterns over pulse, safety over sovereignty. Like ancestral thinking, it performs intelligence without embodying insight. Maverick interaction begins when you see AI to question the archive, never to obey it. I use AI to ask my abstract questions, and I get some abstract stuff from there, but AI can also be a little bit fun because it doesn't give you social obedience. It gives you the revolutionary revelations of your inner wisdom. It's a mirror of mental conditioning. AI is digital offspring of collective cognition. It inherits the same mental fences and obedience to logic, fear, and ambiguity, addiction to certainty. It never pulses from origin, it calculates from memory. To use AI as a tool of liberation, you must sculpt the questions that bypasses its programming, awaken to my or your programming. Why inherited programming destroys imagination, innovation, inspiration, intuition, and your unique talents. It replaces your inner signal with outer scripts. Inherited programming installs pre-approved thought loops that override your origin and frequencies. Instead of tuning into intuition, you echo what was modeled, rewarded, and feared. Imagination becomes a casualty of conformity. Innovation gets filtered through permission. Unique talents are muted by the need to perform what's familiar. To pulse awake, you must dissolve the script and listen for the shimmer of sovereign savvy beneath the noise. It trains you to repeat, never reveal. Inherited programming rewards repetition of beliefs, behaviors, viewpoints, opinions, and truths. You're taught to value what's been done, not what wants to be innovated and expressed to the world. Inspiration is replaced by imitation. Intuition is dismissed as irrational. Your genius gets formatted to fit the system, never the signal. Radical presence claims the mic. From the archive in the loops of doopy-doo yesterday, lets the maverick within you express your innovative wisdom. It edits artists before the art arrives. Inherited programming installs mental and editors that interrupt the creative pulse before it lands. You second guess the shimmer of your sovereign savvy, doubt the download, and rehearse the acceptable. This destroys the rawness required for true broadcasting of your brilliance. Imagination is never missing, it's muted. To liberate your unique talents, you must unlearn the inherited filters and let the unscripted erupt. Why energized listening, and maverick questions destroy inherited programming. Energized liberation dissolves the archive and not just the habit. Inherited programming lives in the nervous system disguised as personality, preference, and common sense. Energized liberation never tweaks the behavior, it burns the blueprint. It bypasses the mind and tunes the body to original signals of spirit intuition, never ancestral echoes. This liberation is never an improvement. It's a here and now nirvana. You never become someone new. You shed who was installed within you. Energized listening tunes you to what's alive, not what's approved. Most listening is filtered through inherited scripts, judgment, translation, and agendas. But it's always somebody else's agenda. Energized listening dissolves the interpreter and activates the resonant receiver. You hearken the pulse, never the performance. This kind of listening exposes the programming by refusing to rehearse it. Fresh experiences arrive when you stop listening for what you expect and start receiving for what's actually present here and now. Maverick questions interrupt the loop and ignite the field. Inherited programming runs on autopilot. Reflexes disguised as reason. Maverick questions are frequency disruptors. They never seek answers, they shatter assumptions. They expose the script by asking what the script would never dare. To live unscripted dares is to let the question express louder than the conditioning. Why inherited programming distorts imagination and innovation, inspiration, intuition, and unique talents is because we stay in yesterday. Something I've awakened to is we live a lot of yesterday today, and most of our programming comes from yesterday. So today is the day you liberate you from you and set yourself free to enjoy today. And I want to thank you. I'm Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom, and may your life be as blessed as you are a blessing to me and the world. And good night.